I guess the question could be abstracted to how we think and understand creativity in general, which is why, again, I think that the kitchen is such an amazing space for personal growth and understanding a lot of different aspects of life. So just to focus on food, there's different aspects of it. Actually, I think I even wrote an article on Patreon, maybe a couple of years ago, around this very topic. Interesting to try to find it. But one thing is to sense, to stimulate the senses. So the way we did it with Rodrigo on the final table, most of the cases was because in some cases we didn't know the ingredient very well. Just taste it. Close your eyes, taste it. What is it missing? What do you have in your repertoire, in your mind's kind of dictionary of flavors and textures that you train through conscious tasting and conscious enjoyment when eating, when cooking? You put that information in your dictionary. You close your eyes, you see the thing raw, and you're like, this needs this, right? So the combination of ingredients, something that comes from the mind, from imagination, literally, and imagination, I mean, like, even from a scientific standpoint, there is an aspect of factory imagery and sensory imagery. There's a lot of research done on mental imagery, visual imagery. So if I tell you close your eyes and imagine hummingbird, you can almost see it, right? Same thing, if I tell you close your eyes and imagine the smell of cinnamon, which is one of the most common spices, you can almost smell it, right? So there's this imagery aspect that the brain's capacity can help us pair up and imagine and predict. So that aspect of prediction is very important. It is something, it's a muscle that we train. And of course, when we cook every day professionally, we train that muscle more often than a person who doesn't. But then there's also the technique aspect. So I eat a slice of raw pumpkin and I'm like, oh, grilled would develop this aroma, this texture. If I dry it, this. If I boil it, this. If I just pass it in hot water for 10 seconds, I'll get the raw inside and the soft outside, right? So you start kind of, and then trying to combine the things. And this is where intuition comes in. Is like, and for me at least, very important. Like, why do I crave? Not what do people want, but what would bring me most pleasure? And then just follow that. Then, of course, it depends also on the creative constraints that you may have. A type of, how much time you have to cook, or for how many people you're cooking, or the concept that you want to, or the context that you're cooking for. All of that ends up also affecting. And then for me, it's also very much about a little bit about cravings, but mostly about what's available. And this is kind of the whole, I guess, philosophy when people ask me, like, what's your type of cooking? And I often respond, immediacy cooking. Immediacy meaning I'm tuning into the season, I'm tuning into what I have around me. I abstract myself from recipes that, come from Europe or from anywhere. I have an ingredient here. I have a culture here. I have availability and access to this. Let's just see what comes up. And so that for me is essential, to really feel that I'm responding to the moment, and that affects in a big way how I create and how I make decisions really about a particular technique or moment that I'm exploring, or ingredient.